Hi, team. The direct implication of COVID 19 struck 4 months ago. I remember it well because I was on PTO and I was in Florida as the nation declared a state of emergency, and I wondered if I'd be able to fly home as planned. By the time I got home and we worked on Monday, we had already instituted the emergency preparedness plan and were rapidly changing our operations in order to make sure we were keeping our participants safe. We all remember that week well, as well as the weeks that followed. Um, and as you know, this pandemic has fundamentally changed so much of our world. And it is almost difficult to remember how things were prior to COVID. Since there are still so many unknowns about how this virus will spread or be contained, it becomes so important that we are resilient. The flexibility and commitment that you've all demonstrated over the past 16 weeks must continue, even though it feels unsurmountable at times. And that's only work. How this ongoing pandemic affects each of us personally is a whole other challenge. I'm not going to pretend to fully understand the worries and frustrations and fears that each of you may be experiencing. And I'm also not going to pretend that those feelings don't carry over into our professional lives, even when we really, really try. The healthiest of people still have bad days. So I want to take a minute to provide some perspective as I see it. Do you remember a few years ago when Life Circles intentionally made a cultural shift in our understanding of the PACE model? The shift was that we began to identify Life Circles primarily as a home and community-based model that offered day center services. This was in stark contrast to Life Circles as a day center-based model that did some home care. We had many conversations about how we had built an incredible day center operation where participants could receive the best care possible. Historically, we had put a ton of resources and energy into making their time at the center the best it could be. This was a worthwhile endeavor and a building block for our evolution, and that's truly how I see it. But what we learned is that while participants attended on average 2 to 3 days a week, we weren't necessarily fully understanding or appreciating everything that happened when they weren't on site. If you consider the fact that there are 168 hours in a week, and that the typical participant spent 12 to 18 hours a week at the day center, that's a whole lot of time that they are in their homes and neighborhoods. We were beginning to see that we weren't as successful in our mission of helping participants remain home through the end of their lives because we weren't consistently assessing or understanding or care planning for the needs that people have when they aren't at the day center. This intentional shift has taught us a lot. Can you imagine if we hadn't done that shift, how much harder things would have been when COVID hit? I am so thankful that our organization had the proactive foresight to prioritize the community-based part of our model before COVID forced us to. I know it's not easy. I know that things are more efficient and convenient when we are all on site and participants are brought in on a regular basis. I know that the in-person human connection that happens in our day centers contributes to a better quality of life for all of our participants. And I know that we feel more confident that things won't fall through the cracks as easily when we are all under the same roof. All of that is true. I also know this truth. Our ability to keep vulnerable adults in their homes has resulted in many lives being saved. I want you to really think about this. Remember that 40% of all COVID deaths are people who live in nursing homes. Every one of our participants meet criteria for nursing home care, and we have had 0 deaths due to COVID. This is incredible, and it's a testament to your fine work. Since we don't know when life will look more like it used to before COVID, I want to encourage you to see life through this lens. Life Circles will continue to serve our existing participants and their families on a home care model that's community-based. And we will use the day center only when safe to do so, and only to support our mission to allow people to remain in their homes through the end of their lives. I want us to reframe our thought process a bit. So, if you are saying to yourself, I can't wait until the day center is open again, or I'm just waiting to get back to the office, you will feel restlessness and impatience and resentment build up. So, instead, reframe your thoughts. How about asking yourself, how can we be most effective in serving our participants and each other for an indefinite period of time? Social distancing doesn't mean social isolation. How can we help our participants remain connected and socially and emotionally supported while they are adhering to the CDC recommendations for staying home and staying safe? How can we continue to enroll new people knowing that the day center that we've always relied upon will be mostly unavailable for the foreseeable future? How can I support a team member who is struggling? How can we be a leader in the long-term care world? And what innovative things are unfolding and will happen because of our work? Life Circles is not a building. We are not a Holland site and a Muskegon site. We are not a meeting room, a therapy gym, a serving kitchen, or a clinic. We are a dynamic team made up of passionate people who are doing our best. We are partners of older adults and families to help them successfully age in their homes. We are relationships intending to renew a sense of community for those who are isolated. We are people who provide services that bridge the gaps that happen with the traditional medical model. We are the most effective way to mitigate the spread of COVID to vulnerable adults so that they can live their remaining chapter of life in a way they choose. There's a lot to celebrate, and I want you to really think about these things the next time you're feeling weary and frustrated and defeated. I know it's cliche, and I'm kind of getting tired of hearing this, but we truly are all in this together, and we will continue to be successful. So I can't thank you enough for your energy and your passion and your creativity and your collaboration, and I will continue to do my best to keep you updated, to support you, and to try to remove any barriers that are impacting your lives. Thank you. Have a wonderful week, and take care.